moments from the last years of Minnie Riperton's life, and one truth she carried through every single one of them. In January of 1976, doctors told her she had about 6 months to live. She lived 3.5 more years. She toured, she recorded, she stood at the White House, she sang that impossible high note in front of millions, and she never told them she was dying. This is what she was carrying while she smiled at you.
It's a lazy afternoon.
Number 10.
It's true. Love is you.
She was 28 years old, and she had just conquered the world.
There's such magic in being with you.
Less than a year earlier, April 5th, 1975, Lovin' You hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 3 R&B, number 2 in the UK. That whistle note at the end, floating up past where human voices are supposed to go. You've heard it. Everybody's heard it. It was on every radio in America, in the kitchen, in the car, at the wedding reception, in the dentist's office. And if you were around in 75, you already know you couldn't get away from that song even if you wanted to. Then she went to the doctor in January of 1976. Here's what most people still don't know about that visit. It wasn't a scare. It wasn't a warning. By the time they found the cancer, it had already spread into her lymphatic system. It was past the point of stopping. The doctors gave her a number, 6 months. Sit with that for a second. She's 28. She's got a 7-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter at home in Los Angeles.
Making storybook dreams come true.
Her husband Richard is her writing partner, her producer, the man she'd been building a life with since Chicago. Stevie Wonder drops by the house, and a stranger in a white coat just told her she'd be gone by summer.
Feeling just enough love for two.
She went home, she looked at Richard, she looked at her kids, and then she made a decision that would define everything that came after. A decision I don't know that I'd have the strength to make. She decided the world was going to hear about the cancer, but the world was never going to hear about the 6 months. Number 9. Most people, after a radical mastectomy, take a year. Minnie took weeks. That spring of 1976, she had the surgery. Radical mastectomy, and I want to be clear about what that meant in 1976, because it wasn't the procedure we think of now. It was heavier. It took more. It left women changed in ways that nobody talked about in public, because in 1976, nobody talked about this in public at all. Cancer was a word you whispered. Breast cancer was a word you didn't say at all. She came out of that surgery, and everybody around her expected her to disappear for a while. Rest, recover, let the career sit. Instead, weeks later, she's at the Ebony Music Awards, standing up, accepting an award called an Ebby. And here's the part that gets me. She got up there in front of that room, the makeup, the dress, the lights, and she started crying. Not the polite awards show tears, real ones. because she was standing there thinking about what she and her family were going through and about the simple fact that she had made it to the room at all. Nobody in that audience knew why she was really crying. They thought it was gratitude. It was gratitude. It was also a woman who'd been given 6 months quietly counting one of them off in public. And if you've ever gone back to work before you were ready, showed up, put the face on, did the job, because sitting still felt worse than hurting, you understand something about Minnie Riperton that no biography is going to explain to you. She wasn't in denial. She'd done the math. She just decided that whatever time was left was going to be spent doing the thing she was born to do. Recovery, for her, wasn't rest. Recovery was work. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's one coffee a month and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8. August 24th, 1976. The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson isn't there that night. Flip Wilson is guest hosting, and Minnie sits down for what everybody assumes is a standard music guest chat. New record, tour dates, thanks for coming. Then she tells him she's had a mastectomy on network television in 1976 to a man who was not remotely prepared for it. Wilson had nothing. He was a comedian, one of the fastest minds in America, and he just sat there because there was no script for this. Celebrities did not do this. Women did not say the word breast and the word cancer in the same sentence on The Tonight Show. And here's what's wild. She didn't plan it. She admitted later that she surprised herself as much as she surprised him. She'd been hesitant to talk about it. She didn't want the sympathy. She didn't want to be the sick singer. And then she opened her mouth and it came out anyway, because some part of her had decided that other women needed to hear it more than she needed to be comfortable. That one unplanned confession changed how America talked about this disease. She made it sayable. But stay with me, because this is the exact moment the real story starts. She told them about the surgery. She told them about the diagnosis. She did not tell them it had spread. She did not tell them about the lymph nodes. She did not tell them she was terminal. And she did not tell them about the 6 months. She gave the country the part that could help them. And she kept the part that would only make them sad. Think about the discipline in that. Sitting under studio lights, with a nation watching, holding half the truth in your mouth, and letting only the useful half out. That's not just bravery. That's a kind of generosity most of us will never be asked to demonstrate.
Can you feel what I'm saying?
Number 7.
Kiss my petals
Before she was Minnie Riperton, she was the girl answering the phone at Chess Records. That's not a metaphor. She graduated high school and took a job as the front door receptionist at the most important blues label in America. Muddy Waters walking past her desk. Chuck Berry, Etta James, Bo Diddley, and she was singing the whole time. Backing vocals for Fontella Bass, The Dells, Ramsey Lewis. She'd been in a girl group called the Gems since she was a teenager. She once stood in for a sick Etta James on the Chitlin circuit and held her own. But when Chess finally gave her a solo single, a song called Lonely Girl, she didn't put her own name on it. She released it as Andrea Davis. She borrowed the name from Billy Davis, the A&R man who mentored her. A tribute, a thank you. But look at what actually happened. The most extraordinary voice in that building went out to radio under a name that wasn't hers. Then Marshall Chess, Leonard's son, starts a psychedelic soul group called Rotary Connection, and the first person he calls is the receptionist. He'd heard that high note. He knew. She said yes, on one condition, this time her own name.
And much more, a flower was born. It blooms.
Then came Come to My Garden in 1970, produced and arranged by Charles Stepney. It flopped, barely sold, and today it's regarded as one of the great soul albums ever made, with Les Fleurs sitting at the center of it like a piece of stained glass.
Inside every man lives the seed.
And I'll say it, I think Come to My Garden is a better record than the one that made her famous. I know some of you just disagreed with me out loud. That's fine. That's the argument. But here's the thread I want you to see. Andrea Davis, backup singer, group member, cult album nobody bought. Minnie Riperton spent the first decade of her career being the most talented person in the room and the least visible. By the time she was dying, keeping something enormous to herself was already a habit. Number 6. They almost didn't record it because they were embarrassed by it. Rewind to 1974. She and Richard had left Chicago, spent a couple of quiet years in Florida, and an intern at Epic Records tracked her down and got her back in a studio. Stevie Wonder signed on to co-produce, but he was under contract to Motown, so he couldn't use his name. So he used a fake one. El Toro Negro, the Black Bull. That's Stevie Wonder on the Perfect Angel credits, hiding in plain sight. They record 8 songs. Stevie says the album's short, needs one more, and then he asks them a question that changed music history.
And making love with you.
He asks, "What's the most embarrassing song you've got?" Minnie hesitates, because the only thing she can think of isn't a song. It's a little melody she and Richard hummed to get their baby daughter to sleep, so the two of them could have 20 minutes of grown-up time. That's it. That's the throwaway. That's loving you.
No one else can make me feel.
They cut it at the record plant. Stevie on electric piano, Richard pulling the birdsong off a sound effects reel. No bass, no drums, nothing but her voice and air. And at the end of it, After that whistle note that seems to leave the atmosphere, she sings her daughter's name over and over, Maya.
Every time that I'm more in
Number 1 in America, number 1 in country after country, a gold single with no rhythm section, which had basically never happened.
that I do is out of love.
The song was recorded when Maya was a baby. Maya grew up hearing her own name at the end of her mother's biggest record and didn't understand what it meant.
Loving you is easy 'cause
She said it herself. She heard her name, thought it was nice, and didn't put it together until she was an adult.
la 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 la.
And if that song was playing at your wedding, or in your mother's kitchen, or in your headphones on a night you needed something gentle, you already know why it never lets go of anybody.
You're beautiful, and every day of mine
The lullaby got out. The prognosis stayed in.
you is easy 'cause you're beautiful.
Number 5. In 1977, she took a job that almost nobody with her diagnosis would have taken.
It's just like you and me.
She became a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society, then the national spokeswoman for their 1978-79 campaign.
That his daughter should marry a man with lots of money.
She went on the talk show circuit and told women, plainly, calmly, to examine themselves, to catch it early, to not be ashamed, and then think about what she knew that they didn't. She was standing there telling women that early detection saves lives, knowing full well that her own hadn't been caught early, knowing hers had already spread before anybody found it. Standing on the exact ground that had given way underneath her, telling other people it would hold. That's a level of composure I don't have words for.
It's true love. You better grab it anyway.
In 1978, she was named the American Cancer Society's National Education Chair, the first African American woman ever to hold that position.
A young girl named Maya was loved by a lion.
And that same year, she was at the White House, receiving the Society's Courage Award from President Jimmy Carter himself. Picture that room.
Got the bride from the place where she stands at the ceremony.
The photographers, the president shaking her hand, an award literally named for the thing she was doing, and nobody in that room, not the president, not the press, understood the actual size of what they were honoring. They thought they were recognizing a survivor. They were recognizing a woman in the middle of dying who had chosen to spend her last strength on strangers. Here's the aside I keep coming back to.
Now Maya's crying on her wedding day.
She could have retired. She had a #1 record and money and a family and a legitimate medical excuse to disappear into her house and close the door.
You were my children. You gotta do the best.
She used the time to make it easier for the next woman. Number 4.
Fantastic, it will come as no surprise.
She toured in 1977. She toured in 1978 with metastatic cancer in her body.
The only way of getting past the jive.
Let me put that in physical terms, because it's easy to say she kept working and move on. Touring means airports, buses, different beds, sound checks in cold rooms, 2 shows some nights.
Every day is adventures in paradise.
And her instrument wasn't a guitar she could set down. It was her own body, her lungs, her diaphragm, her throat. That whistle register she was famous for takes breath control most trained opera singers never develop.
I believe I am free, let it free me. That
She was doing that while cancer moved through her. And in 1978, she did something that stops me every time I think about it. Her attorney and Richard worked out a move to Capitol Records, a brand new deal, new label, priority promotion, fresh start. She signed a record contract knowing what her doctors had told her. Some people would call that denial. I don't think it was. I think signing that contract was the most defiant thing she ever did, putting her name on a piece of paper that assumed a future, because refusing to plan one felt like agreeing with the diagnosis. She went into A&M Studios in Hollywood and started making the album that became Minnie. And whether she should have told her audience the truth by then, whether the fans who loved her deserved to know they were watching a goodbye, I'll let you decide on that one. I go back and forth on it myself. What I keep landing on is this. If she'd told them, every show would have become a vigil. Every review would have been an obituary. People would have looked at her differently, and she knew it. She wanted to be a singer, not a symbol, so she got on the plane. And she went out and sang about love and gardens and paradise, and the crowd went home happy, and none of them knew.
The only way of getting past the jive.
Number 3.
Always you were there. Hey,
Early 1979, the cancer took her right arm, not surgically.
baby, in the end, I got you as a lover.
Lymphedema, severe swelling that comes when the lymphatic system can't drain, locked that arm into one position. It stopped moving. It stayed where it was.
Yes, we will.
For a performer, that's a spotlight you can't turn off. You can hide fatigue. You can hide pain. You can put makeup over almost anything. You cannot hide an arm that doesn't move. She went on television anyway. Her final TV appearances, most famously on The Mike Douglas Show, she performed with her right arm held rigid at her side, just standing there singing, one arm gesturing, one arm still. Nobody said anything about it on air. She didn't explain it. She just did the song. And if you've ever had to show up somewhere with something visibly wrong with you, walking in knowing every person in that room is going to notice and nobody's going to ask, you know exactly what that walk to the microphone felt like. Here's what I can't stop thinking about. She'd spent 3 years choosing what the public got to see, choosing to give them the diagnosis but not the prognosis, choosing the useful truth over the sad one, and her body finally took that choice away from her. It started telling on her. She could have canceled. Everyone would have understood. Everyone would have said, of course she's not well. She went out and sang with an arm that wouldn't lift. Because the voice still worked. And as long as the voice still worked, she was still Minnie Riperton and not a patient. Number 2. In April 1979, Capitol put out a single called Memory Lane. It went to number 16 R&B. The album, Minnie, came out that May. On the surface, it's a song about a relationship ending. Looking back, remembering. That's how it was received. That's how it got played. But listen to it now. Listen to it knowing what she knew, and the whole thing changes shape underneath you. Partway through, the tone shifts. The looking back becomes something more urgent, something closer to pleading. It stops sounding like a woman remembering a man and starts sounding like a woman running out of road. She wrote it with Richard, and a lot of people who love her believe that song was her goodbye. To him, to Mark and Maya, to everyone listening, encoded inside something the radio would play as a breakup ballad. She couldn't say it in an interview, so she said it in a song and let us find it later. That's the thing about her. She never stopped protecting us from the news. She just kept leaving it where we'd eventually look.
Did I have to find this photograph?
On July 6, 1979, she made her last televised performance on The Merv Griffin Show. She sang Memory Lane. She sang Lover and Friend. 6 days later, she was gone. 6 days.
Down memory lane, I see her standing there.
There are people who watched that broadcast, turned the TV off, went to bed, and read about her death the following week without ever connecting the two. And I wonder how many of them went back to that tape years later and finally heard what she was actually doing up there.
Where am I?
Whether she meant it as a farewell or whether we've all just needed it to be one, I honestly don't know. Nobody does. Richard has his version. The fans have theirs. Number 1.
Baby, grab your hat now, 'cause here we go.
By the middle of June 1979, she couldn't get out of bed anymore.
Off to Wonderland, floating hand in hand.
On July 10th, they took her to Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. 2 days later, Thursday, July 12th, 10 o'clock in the morning, Minnie Riperton died.
And there's no one around except me.
She was 31 years old. She was in Richard's arms. And this is the detail that undoes me every time.
Second now, I'll explode.
She wasn't in silence. She was listening to a recording Stevie Wonder had made for her. He'd put something on tape specifically for this woman, his friend, and that's the sound that was in the room.
Ooh, baby.
3.5 years after they gave her 6 months. That Sunday, more than 500 people came to her funeral. She was laid to rest at Westwood Village Memorial Park.
Now, 'cause here we go.
In September, Stevie went on Soul Train and paid tribute to her on national television, the same medium where she'd first told the truth 3 years earlier to a stunned Flip Wilson.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
Her daughter Maya was 6 years old, 2 weeks away from turning 7. But here's what she'd left in the vault.
Like in the movies.
She had recorded vocals that hadn't been used. Richard took them, stripped them off the original backing tracks, and rebuilt entire arrangements underneath his wife's voice. In 1980, that became Love Lives Forever. And look who showed up to sing with a woman who was already gone. Peabo Bryson traded lines with her on Here We Go, top 20 R&B, her biggest since Lovin' You.
Off to Wonderland, floating hand.
Roberta Flack on the vamp. Michael Jackson matching her whisper so closely you can barely tell where she ends. George Benson. Patrice Rushen. Stevie on harmonica. Every musician who worked on it wrote something on the back of the album jacket. Stevie's note said he missed her because he couldn't touch her. But then again, maybe he could because she was still touching him.
Really so. Oh, baby, grab your hat.
That's where the title came from. Love Lives Forever.
What you did.